Most horror monsters don't break into your home. They don't crawl through windows or wait under your bed. They're already there. This is a true horror story meant to help you fall asleep, but it probably won't. Sitting at the dinner table, pouring drinks, asking how school was. And that's why creepy families in fiction are more unsettling than any monster. Because before they become terrifying, they feel familiar. We grow up believing family is supposed to be safe. It's where you're protected. Creepy families are rarely loud. They don't need to be. Their power comes from control disguised as care, from rules framed as love, from silence presented as protection. In these families, parents don't say, "I'm hurting you." They say, "I'm doing this for your own good." Children aren't told to lie. They're taught that some things simply aren't discussed outside the house. Slowly, fear becomes routine. Manipulation becomes tradition. And obedience becomes survival. What makes these families disturbing isn't what they do. It's how normal it feels to them. That's because creepy families in fiction aren't just groups of people. They're systems. Every member has a role. The authority, the enforcer, the peacemaker, the quiet one. And once you're assigned a role, leaving it becomes dangerous. These families don't need locked doors. They don't need chains. They use obligation, expectation, history. You don't stay because you want to. You stay because you were taught that leaving would destroy everything. The family doesn't ask, "Are you happy?" They ask, "Why would you do this to us?" Responsibility replaces freedom. You can see this clearly in Hereditary. On the surface, it's a grieving family. They eat together, they argue, they sit in silence. But beneath every interaction is something heavier. Generations of control, guilt passed down like an inheritance. No one is allowed to step out of line. No one is allowed to escape the role they were born into. The most disturbing part isn't the supernatural horror. It's watching family members fail to protect each other. Not because they don't care, but because they don't know how. Then there's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This family doesn't hide their violence. They've normalized it. To them, what we see as monstrous is tradition. Dinner is dinner. Family is family. Outsiders aren't people. They're resources. What makes it terrifying isn't chaos. It's order. The family is functional. They cooperate. They protect their own. The horror doesn't come from dysfunction. It comes from loyalty without limits. And then there's a strange contrast. The Addams family. They look disturbing. They live like monsters, but they love freely. They accept unconditionally, which is why they don't scare us. Because real horror families don't look strange. They look normal. They smile in public. They host holidays. They tell everyone how close they are. And behind closed doors, they teach one rule above all others. Do not betray the family. That rule appears again in The Visit. The grandparents don't seem dangerous at first. They're just off. Strange rules, uncomfortable moments, things that can't be explained. That's how creepy families reveal themselves, in fragments. A look that lasts too long, a punishment that feels disproportional, a rule that no one can justify. By the time the truth becomes clear, the damage is already done. You see the same pattern in The Shining. The Torrance family isn't destroyed overnight. They're isolated, not just physically, emotionally. Jack doesn't become violent suddenly. He becomes resentful. The hotel doesn't create the horror. It reveals what was already there. That's the pattern. Creepy families don't create monsters. They enable them. And that's why this kind of horror hits so close to home. Because many of us recognize these rules. Don't talk about it. Don't make it awkward. Don't embarrass the family. Pain becomes private. anger becomes disloyalty. And when you finally realize something is wrong, you don't ask how to escape. You ask how to endure it. That's the moment horror fiction stops being entertainment. Because the scariest families aren't the ones that hurt you once. They're the ones that teach you to hurt yourself to keep the peace. There's a moment in Hereditary that captures this perfectly. Not a scream, not violence, silence. Something unthinkable happens, and the family does nothing. They don't comfort, they don't confront, they move on. That's when you understand something terrifying. The family isn't broken, it's functioning exactly as designed. The family doesn't exist to protect its members. The members exist to protect the family. That's the real monster. That's why creepy families in fiction stay with us. Why they linger long after the story ends. We fear monsters because they're unknown, but we fear families because we recognize them. So the next time a horror story introduces a strange family, don't watch what they do when someone is watching. Watch what happens when no one speaks, because that's where the real horror lives. What's the creepiest family you've seen in fiction? And why did it stay with you? Let me know in the comments. And if this story felt a little too familiar, there's another one waiting for you.